Hey guys, Andy Tran here with the InnerBark Outdoors channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. I try and do weekly videos on the outdoor survival do-it-yourself and reviews, but this video is going to be a little bit of a troubleshooting video for my Aero Precision M5E1. It's a 6mm Creedmoor using a Wilson combat barrel. And so I did some load development right when I got this rifle in preparation for taking it to a long-range shooting competition. It did great up until about the second half of the competition. So basically what came across was first, the ammunition was seated too long. Even though I made these at the max seating depth, bullets were getting jammed into the lands and grooves. And then when I would unchamber a round at the end of a stage, bullet would be pulled out, powder would go everywhere. It's not a good look. Normally, with all of my other reloading rifles that I do, this would be okay. In fact, you can actually go longer than magazine seating and still be well off the lands and grooves. But I didn't realize that this is a much tighter chamber, and because of that, we get more accuracy and that stuff. In terms of reloading, you have to be a little more cognizant of that. Another issue that I had was my brass was getting ejected so violently that like 25% of my brass was getting sent off into the other county. So I wanted to fix that. And then last but not least was I was getting some pierced primers. So I will go into how I remedied that as well. So first things first, when you contact a company, they're gonna ask you if you used a no-go gauge on your rifle. And I was able to use a 6.5 Creedmoor for this because all the chamber dimensions for the Creedmoor series are the same, just the neck diameter is gonna be different. So I was able to use this. Of course, it didn't close on the no-go gauge, so everything was good with that. So I'm not even gonna show you that just because it's just kind of boring. I did go ahead and switch out gas block. So the original gas block I had on here was an Aero Precision gas block, standard, non-adjustable. And while it was great for the 308 pressures, the Creedmoor series has a little bit more. And that coupled with a longer barrel, I think, made it so that the brass was getting violently thrown out of the ejection port. And so it was pretty harsh on the actual casings themselves. And then I was only able to find maybe 75% of the brass that I shot. That's all changed. I'm really happy with that. The last thing I did was change out our bolts here. All right, so these are the two bolts that I've run through this rifle. This one right here on the left is an Aero Precision bolt. And then this one right here is the JP Enterprises high pressure bolt. And I guess that's a little bit of a misnomer, and that's coming from their mouth. It doesn't allow you to shoot higher than max pressures. What it does is it handles standard pressures a lot better. And so you can see the huge difference in these already is that the firing pin holes are pretty easily seen. They're way different sizes. So the Aero Precision one, I measured it earlier. It came in at about 0.080 inches, whereas the JP high pressure bolt comes in at about 0.55, I would say. And so what you get is less flow of the primer and therefore more support from the bolt face. We also get the little added benefit of a smaller and lighter firing pin. So I guess now that I have this non-standard firing pin, I should probably buy at least one more of these to have in my kit in case this should go down. This has totally solved my issue of pierced primers, and I know for a fact there's gonna be a lot of guys running gas guns in the Creedmoor series that have had this issue. If you're okay with your ejection patterns and distances and that sort of thing, you could probably skip the adjustable gas block, and I would just go right into getting the JP high pressure bolt, because this has totally solved everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how I figured out how to find the proper seating depth with this rifle so that I'm not jamming everything into the lands and grooves. So we are going to use the overall length gauge by Hornady. It's essentially just a hollow tube with sort of a rod that goes to the center of it. And then on the tip, you have these special cases that thread on. And what's nice about this is you just put any of the proper caliber projectile in there, and then you can kind of figure out how long or how short to seat these bullets. And this is nice if you have the same rifle for different applications. So, you know, you might have like a long range projectile, or you might have a hunting projectile that you use for this rifle. And that way you don't have to waste a whole bunch of ammo trying to figure out the proper seating depth. So you press the gauge all the way in so that the shoulder of the casing is hitting the shoulder of the chamber. Press it all the way in, and then this little tiny rod here, push it all the way so that the bullet itself is well seated. Then this little nut gets tightened and it locks in its seating depth, and then the whole thing comes out. The projectile itself is kind of wedged into the lands and grooves a little bit, which means that I am well in there already. And all I have to do is get a cleaning rod and lightly tap out my projectile. And this was basically the issue that I had during those competitions. I had a projectile that was stuck well into my chamber. When it's slammed in there using the bolt carrier, it really gets itself stuck in a bad way. So my projectile has been bumped out using the cleaning rod, and then now we can figure out exactly the depth that we need to be at. Now that we have our little projectile out of the rifle, just go ahead and insert that into the neck of the modified case. And then from here, because we have this little cutout, we can just measure directly off of this whole gauge. So using our calipers, 2.71, about 2. And so we can compare that to what I shot in competition, and I'm gonna assume that it's quite a bit longer. For this one, we're at 2.792. So we're 1/8,000ths of an inch short of max. And even though we were short of max, I was jamming this way deep into the lands and grooves of that barrel. If I went with this measurement instead, I should have similar accuracy with way more reliability. What was happening was, after a stage, if I didn't shoot all of my rounds, then I would have a live cartridge in there, and then I'd have to waste one to shoot it out. Otherwise I would get powder and all that stuff stuck in. So I was basically wasting one round per stage, and that's pretty much just money out the tube. So hopefully my rundown of the troubleshooting for this rifle was beneficial for you guys, whether or not you had some or all of the issues that I had. You can check out some of the products that I used in order to do that. Because of YouTube's policies, I'm not able to give you guys links to those, but you can quickly Google search it. A company that rhymes with Schmidway USA or schmaunels.com are really good places to pick that stuff up, and they usually have really good discounts. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Also check out my Facebook page, Instagram, and other social media. It really helps me know these are the kind of videos you want to see. But as always, take care out there. Bye.